The Frozen Throne. Commander Marcus Cole had faced pirates, warlords, and a black hole that almost swallowed his ship. But nothing in his life prepared him for what was about to happen in this frozen palace. His boots made crunching sounds on the ice-covered marble floor. Every breath he released turned into white smoke in the freezing air. The cold was so intense that his bones ached with every step. Around him stood 12 guards. Their skin was the color of dark ruby, and their eyes were solid sapphire blue with no pupils. Each guard held a spear tipped with crystallized poison. They watched Marcus like he was a dangerous animal that had wandered into their home. And maybe he was. "I am not your enemy," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the cold. "My ship crashed 6 hours ago on your planet. The reactor core is damaged. If I do not send a distress signal in the next 12 hours, my ship will explode. And trust me, your beautiful palace will become a smoking crater." No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus looked toward the throne at the far end of the room. It was carved from a single massive block of glacial ice, and sitting upon it was the most beautiful and terrifying woman he had ever seen, Queen Seraphine. Her skin was pale ruby, almost translucent. Her hair was emerald green and floated around her shoulders like she was underwater. Her eyes were the same solid sapphire as her guards, cold and unblinking. She wore robes made of something that looked like frozen silk, and they clung to her body like morning frost on glass. She was beautiful, but it was the kind of beauty that could kill. "Your Majesty," Marcus tried again, "I fixed your perimeter fence when I arrived. I did not hurt anyone. I walked through your front door and asked for help like a civilized man. The least you could do is speak to me." Silence. The Queen's voice was not loud. It did not need to be. It cut through the air like a blade made of ice. Marcus felt his blood go cold, and not just from the temperature. He clenched his jaw and said nothing. The Queen continued to stare at him. Her expression did not change. She looked at him the way someone might look at a fire they had only read about in books. Curious, cautious, afraid. But afraid of what? He was just one human, unarmed, freezing, outnumbered. Marcus let his eyes wander around the throne room, looking for exits, looking for options. That was when he noticed something strange. Next to the Queen's massive throne sat a smaller one, a child's throne, and on it sat what Marcus had assumed was a statue. A small figure, no bigger than a 7-year-old human girl. Her skin was pale white, covered in a thin layer of frost. Her eyes were closed. Her body was completely still. She did not breathe. She did not move. She looked like a sculpture carved from frozen milk. Marcus frowned. Why would anyone put a statue on a throne? Then the statue opened its eyes. Marcus felt his heart stop. The eyes were solid green, no pupils, no whites, just endless deep green, like emeralds buried in snow. And they were looking directly at him. The small figure's head turned slowly, with the careful precision of a predator locking onto prey. Her nostrils flared once, twice, like she was smelling something, smelling him. "Your Majesty," one of the guards whispered, his voice filled with sudden terror. "The princess, she is awake." The Queen's calm expression shattered. For the first time, Marcus saw real fear in her ancient sapphire eyes. "Do not move," the Queen commanded, but she was not speaking to Marcus. She was speaking to her daughter. The princess did not listen. She smiled. It was not a child's smile. It was the smile of something hungry. And then she moved.
The warmth she craved. Every guard in the throne room screamed the same warning. "She will shatter!" "Stop her! Grab the princess!" But no one was fast enough. The small figure launched from her throne like a wild animal. She did not run, she lunged. Her tiny hands hit the frozen floor, and she scrambled toward Marcus on all fours with a speed that made his soldier instincts scream danger. Spears clattered to the ground. Guards stumbled over each other trying to intercept her. One guard dove forward and missed by inches. Another reached out and grabbed only empty air. The princess was too fast, too desperate. Marcus had less than 2 seconds to react. His brain shouted at him to dodge, to move, to protect himself from whatever this creature was about to do. But his arms did something else. They opened. The princess hit his chest with enough force to knock the breath from his lungs. Her small arms wrapped around his neck like iron chains. Her face pressed into the exposed skin above his torn thermal collar, and Marcus felt cold like he had never felt before. It was not normal cold. It was death cold, the kind of cold that stopped hearts and froze blood inside veins. Her small body was like hugging a corpse pulled from a frozen lake. The chill spread through his chest, into his ribs and toward his spine. For a moment, Marcus thought he was going to die. Then something changed. The princess made a sound, a deep, rumbling vibration that started in her chest and spread into his. It was like the purring of a cat, but deeper, stronger, almost hypnotic. And her skin began to transform. Marcus watched with wide eyes as the frost on her pale white skin started to melt. Color spread from where her cheek touched his neck, racing down her arms like fire spreading across paper. The pale white became soft pink, then light red, then deep, healthy ruby. She was coming alive. Her grip tightened, her purring grew louder, and she pressed herself deeper into his warmth like she was trying to crawl inside his chest and live there forever. The throne room went completely silent. Marcus looked up. Every guard had frozen in place like statues. Their sapphire eyes were wide with shock. Some had dropped their weapons. Others had fallen to their knees. And the queen was standing. She had risen from her throne, one hand stretched toward her daughter, her beautiful face twisted with an emotion Marcus could not understand. Was it fear? Anger? Hope? All three, perhaps. "Step away from her." The queen's voice cracked like thin ice under heavy boots. "Step away from my daughter right now." Marcus did not move. He could not move. The princess was holding him too tightly. "I am not hurting her," he said carefully. "You are a monster." "Maybe," Marcus replied, "but she is not letting go, and I don't think she wants to." The queen descended from her throne. Each step she took echoed through the frozen hall like a death sentence. Her translucent robes flowed behind her like ghostly wings. Up close, Marcus could see the sharp bones of her face, the ancient wisdom in her cold eyes, and the desperate terror hiding beneath her royal mask. She stopped 3 feet away and stared at her daughter. The princess was still purring, still glowing, still clinging to Marcus like he was the last source of light in a dying universe. "How?" the queen whispered. Her voice was barely a breath. "How are you not killing her?" Marcus frowned. "Killing her? Lady, I'm just standing here." "Your heat, it should burn her. It should melt her from the inside." The queen's hands trembled at her sides. "No Kytherian can survive direct contact with temperature above 50 degrees. You are 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That's normal for a human." The queen's eyes went wide. "You are a furnace, a living star." "I'm just a man." "No," the queen shook her head slowly. "You are something else, something impossible." She reached out and touched her daughter's back. The moment her cold fingers made contact, the princess whimpered. The beautiful ruby color at the edges of her skin began to fade, turning pale again. The queen pulled her hand back like she had touched fire. "She is dying," the queen said. The words came out broken, heavy with years of hidden pain. "My daughter has been dying since the day she was born." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "What do you mean?" "We call it the fading, a curse, a sickness with no cure." The Queen's sapphire eyes glistened with something that might have been tears if she cried. "Kytherans absorb heat from our sun. It's how we survive. But Lyra, my Lyra, she was born without this ability. She cannot absorb heat. She only loses it." The Queen's voice dropped to a whisper. "Every day she grows colder. Every week she moves less. Every month she fades more. The doctor said she would become ice within 5 years. That was 3 years ago." Marcus looked down at the small body pressed against his chest. The princess had stopped purring. She was looking up at him now with those solid green eyes. There was no fear in them, no suspicion, only trust. "She was waiting to die," Marcus said quietly. "Yes, and then I walked in. Yes, and my body heat is keeping her alive," the Queen finished his sentence. "For the first time in 3 years, my daughter is warm, because of you." Marcus closed his eyes. He understood now. He understood everything. "Your ship will explode in 11 hours, the Queen continued. Her voice had changed. It was no longer cold. It was desperate. "If you leave, my daughter will freeze again. She will die within days." "And if I stay," Marcus said slowly, "I die when my reactor goes critical." "Yes." The Queen stepped closer. Her face was inches now from his. He could see every crack in her royal mask, every shadow of grief beneath her ancient eyes. "Choose, human," the Queen said. "Your life or my daughter's." Marcus looked at the princess. She smiled at him, a pure, innocent smile. And he realized he had no idea what to do.
The impossible bargain. Marcus Cole did not believe in impossible choices. In his 20 years as a starship commander, he had escaped prison planets, outrun Imperial destroyers, and once talked his way out of an execution by making the executioner laugh. He did not accept death. He negotiated with it. And he was about to negotiate with a queen. "You want me to choose between my life and your daughter's life," Marcus said slowly. "But I am not going to do that." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "You refuse to save her?" "No, I refuse to die." Marcus adjusted his grip on the princess, who was still clinging to his chest like a warm little shadow. "But I also refuse to let a child freeze to death, so we are going to find a third option." "There is no third option. I have searched for 7 years. Every doctor, every scientist, every healer in the galaxy. Nothing works. Nothing can generate enough constant heat to keep her alive." "Nothing on your planet," corrected Marcus. "But I am not from your planet, and where I come from, we solve impossible problems before breakfast." The Queen stared at him for a long moment. Her sapphire eyes searched his face, looking for lies, for tricks, for the catch that always came with promises. She found nothing but stubborn human confidence. "What do you propose?" she asked finally. "A deal. You help me fix my ship before it explodes and kills everyone in a 50-mile radius. In return, I stay long enough to find a permanent solution for your daughter, one that does not require me to stand here holding her for the rest of my very short life." "And if you fail?" Marcus smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Then I guess we both lose." The Queen considered this. Around her the guards shifted nervously. They were not used to seeing anyone speak to their monarch as an equal. They were even less used to seeing their monarch listen. "Very well," the Queen said at last. "I will send my engineers to assist with your ship, but you will not go alone." She raised one hand and made a gesture. From the shadows behind the throne, a figure emerged. Marcus felt his instinct scream. The newcomer was tall, taller than any guard in the room. His ruby skin was darker than the others, almost black, like dried blood in moonlight. His eyes were not sapphire. They were solid black, empty, dead. "This is Commander Vex. He will accompany you at all times." "Bodyguard?" Marcus asked. Assassin, the queen corrected. If you try to escape with my daughter, he will kill you. If you try to hurt my daughter, he will kill you slowly. If you fail to find a solution and attempt to leave, he will make your death last for days. Do we understand each other? Marcus looked at Vex. Vex looked back with those empty black eyes. Neither of them blinked. Crystal clear, Marcus said. The next 6 hours were the strangest of Marcus's life. The Queen's engineers were brilliant, but they had never seen human technology before. Marcus had to explain everything 3 times, draw diagrams in the frost, and physically demonstrate how half his tools worked, all while carrying a princess strapped to his chest. The royal tailors had created a thermal sling out of some kind of insulated fabric. It wrapped around Marcus's torso and held Lyra against his body like a baby kangaroo in its mother's pouch. She seemed perfectly content with this arrangement. Her small head rested against his heartbeat, and her purring had become a constant background sound, like a small engine running inside his ribcage. "You are very warm," she said suddenly. Marcus nearly dropped his wrench. Those were the first words she had spoken since grabbing him. "You can talk?" he asked. "I could always talk. My voice was soft, musical, like wind chimes made of ice. I just had nothing to say. Everything was so cold, so quiet. Words felt frozen. And now? Now I am warm. You make the words melt." Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. Not a bone, something softer. "How long has it been since you talked?" "2 winters, maybe 3. Mother cried the first time I stopped. She does not cry anymore. I think she forgot how." Marcus glanced toward the palace, where he knew the queen was watching from some frozen window. He wondered how many nights she had sat beside her daughter's bed, watching her slowly turn to ice, unable to do anything but wait for death. No parent should endure that. "Well," Marcus said, turning back to his ship's damaged core, "we are going to fix that, both the talking and the freezing, I promise." "How?" "I don't know yet, but I am very good at figuring things out." Lyra smiled. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had seen in years. By hour 8, the reactor was stable. It wouldn't explode anymore, but it wouldn't fly. Marcus needed a specific type of thermal energy to restart the main engines, and nothing on this frozen planet seemed capable of generating it. He jumped to his feet and ran toward the palace, Lyra bouncing gently in her sling. Vex followed silently behind. Marcus burst into the throne room, startling the guards. The queen rose from her throne, alarm flashing across her face. "What is wrong?" she demanded. "Nothing is wrong. Everything is right." Marcus held up his scanner, showing her the readings. "There are geothermal vents beneath your planet, massive ones, enough heat to power 100 ships and keep your daughter warm forever. All I need to do is go down there and tap into them." He expected the queen to be happy. He expected relief, joy, hope. Instead, her face went pale. The guards exchanged terrified looks. Even Vex, the emotionless assassin, took a step backward. "No," the queen whispered, "not there. Anywhere but there." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean? It's just underground. A few miles of digging and we can—" "You do not understand," the queen's voice trembled. "Those vents are in the forbidden depths. No one goes there. No one has gone there for 5 years. Not since—" She stopped. Her hands were shaking. "Not since what?" Marcus pressed. "Not since my husband went to save our son." A tear, actual frozen tear, slid down her ruby cheek. "He never came back." Marcus felt the ground shift beneath his feet. "Your son?" Marcus said. "Lyra has a brother?"
Had, the queen corrected. Prince Kael was born with the opposite curse. Too much heat. He was burning alive from the inside. We had no choice. We sent him to the depths, where the cold could balance his fire. My husband went to bring him home. He found something else instead. What did he find? The queen closed her eyes. A monster made of living flame. It killed the king in seconds and has guarded the depths ever since. Anyone who goes down there dies screaming. Marcus stood in silence, processing this information. A monster of living flame in the only place that could save Lyra. Of course, nothing was ever easy. Then a small voice spoke from his chest. "It's not a monster." Marcus looked down. Lyra was awake. Her green eyes were filled with tears, but her voice was steady. "What did you say?" the queen breathed. "The thing that killed father?" Lyra's tiny hand gripped Marcus's shirt. "It's not a monster. It's Kael. My brother is still alive, and he is waiting to be brought home."
The exiled prince. The throne room became a graveyard of silence. Every guard stood frozen. Every breath stopped. Every heartbeat paused. The queen stared at her daughter like she had just spoken in a language from another universe. "What did you say?" the queen whispered. Lyra's small body trembled against Marcus's chest, but her voice remained steady. "Kael is alive, mother. I can feel him. I have always felt him. He is not a monster. He is just lost and very, very angry." "That is impossible." The queen shook her head, her emerald hair swaying like seaweed in frozen water. "The thing in the depths killed your father. It burned him alive. I saw the ashes myself. No child could do that. No son of mine could. He did not mean to." The words cut through the queen's denial like a blade through thin ice. Lyra's green eyes glistened with tears that would not fall. "I was only 2 years old when you sent him away," she continued, "but I remember everything. The night before he left, he came to my room. He was crying. His tears turned to steam on his cheeks. He held my hand, and for one moment I felt warm, really warm, for the first and only time in my life." Marcus felt the princess's grip tighten on his shirt. "He said he was sorry. He said he was dangerous. He said he had to go somewhere cold so he would not hurt anyone. But he promised me something, mother. He promised he would come back when he learned to control the fire." The queen's face crumbled. The royal mask she had worn for years cracked and fell away, revealing the broken mother underneath. "He was 6 years old, just a baby, and I sent him into the darkness alone." "You had no choice," Marcus said quietly. "If he stayed, his heat would have killed everyone in the palace, including Lyra." "Do not defend me, human." The queen's voice was sharp with self-hatred. "I abandoned my son. I told myself it was for the kingdom, for Lyra, for the greater good. But the truth is simpler. I was afraid of him, my own child, and now he has become the very monster I feared." She turned away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Marcus looked down at Lyra. "You said he is waiting for someone to bring him home. How do you know?" "Because I can hear him." She placed one small hand over her heart. "In here. We are twins, the warm one. 2 halves of the same soul. He burns, I freeze. Somewhere in between is the balance we were supposed to share." "Balance," Marcus repeated. A thought began forming in his mind, a crazy, dangerous, possibly suicidal thought. What if that is the answer? 1 hour later, Marcus stood at the entrance to the forbidden depths. It was a massive hole in the ice, carved by ancient machines long forgotten. Stone steps spiraled down into darkness, and from somewhere far below, an orange glow pulsed like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant.
The heat rising from the depths was intense. Marcus was sweating for the first time since landing on this frozen planet. Lyra, still strapped to his chest, had stopped purring. Her eyes were fixed on the darkness below. "You do not have to do this," the queen said behind him. "I will not force you to die for my children." Marcus turned to face her. Beside her stood Vex, the assassin, and 20 of the queen's best guards. All of them looked terrified. None of them were volunteering to go down. "I am not forcing you," Marcus said. "I am choosing. There is a difference." "Why? You owe us nothing. You owe your daughter nothing. You are a stranger who crashed on our planet by accident. Why would you walk into fire for children you do not know?" I thought about the question. I thought about his empty ship, his lonely travels, the years he had spent running from one star to another without purpose or destination. Then he looked at Lyra. She looked back at him with complete trust. "Because someone has to," he said, simply, "and I'm already here." He turned and began walking down the steps. "Human," the queen called after him. Marcus paused. "If you save my children, if you bring them both back alive, I will give you anything. My kingdom, my throne, my life, anything." Marcus smiled over his shoulder. "How about you just fix my ship and maybe throw in some decent food? I've been eating emergency rations for 3 weeks." Before the queen could respond, he disappeared into the darkness. The descent took forever. The stone steps were ancient, cracked, and covered in strange symbols that glowed faintly in the orange light. The air grew hotter with every step. Marcus's thermal suit was designed for cold, not heat, and sweat poured down his face like rain. Lyra pressed herself closer to his chest. The heat that would kill any normal Kytherian was perfect for her. Her skin glowed healthy ruby, and her purring had returned, soft and content. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "Good. Father was not afraid. He thought he could fight Kale, force him to come home. That's why he failed." Marcus frowned. "What do you mean?" "Kale does not need a warrior. He needs a friend, someone who is not afraid of his fire, someone who will walk toward him instead of running away." "I'm walking toward him right now." "Yes," Lyra smiled up at him. "That's why you might succeed." The bottom of the depths was a hellscape. Marcus emerged from the stairway into a massive underground cavern. Rivers of molten lava flowed through channels carved in black stone. Geysers of flame erupted randomly from cracks in the ground. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness and smoke. And at the center of it all stood a figure. It was humanoid, roughly the size of a teenage boy, but there was nothing human about it. Its body was living fire. Flames licked across its skin in endless waves. Its eyes were 2 burning coals, ancient and filled with rage. Heat radiated from it in waves so intense that the stone beneath its feet had melted into glass. Prince Kale, or what was left of him. The Fire Prince saw Marcus and tilted his head. When he spoke, his voice was the crackling of a forest fire, the roar of a volcano, the scream of a dying star. "Another visitor?" Flames flickered across his burning lips. "The last one screamed for 3 days before he stopped. Will you last longer?" "Human?" Marcus' heart pounded. Every instinct told him to run, but he stood his ground. "I am not here to fight you." "No one comes here to fight." Kale took a step forward. The ground beneath his foot turned to liquid. "They come to capture, to contain, to drag me back to the frozen world above where I do not belong. Father came with chains made of enchanted ice. Do you know what happens when ice touches fire? It melts. It explodes. Father was dead before he could scream. His frozen chains shattered against my skin, and the shrapnel tore him apart. I didn't mean to kill him, but I did, and I have been killing ever since." Kale, do not speak my name. The Fire Prince flared brighter. I am not Kale anymore. Kale was a frightened boy who believed his mother would come for him, who waited in the darkness for 5 years, hoping someone would save him. That boy burned away long ago. Now there is only fire. He raised one burning hand. The heat was so intense that Marcus's eyebrows began to singe. His skin felt like it was about to melt off his bones. This was it. This was death. Then Lyra moved. She unstrapped herself from the sling and dropped to the ground before Marcus could stop her. Her small, bare feet touched the molten ground, and she began walking toward her brother. "Lyra, no!" Marcus lunged for her, but she was already too far. The prince's burning eyes went wide. His flames flickered with confusion, then recognition, then something that looked almost like fear. "No, no, not you, anyone but you!" Lyra kept walking. The heat should have killed her. Her frozen blood should have boiled in her veins. But something strange was happening. Where her feet touched the molten ground, ice formed. The fire around her dimmed. The heat bent around her like a river flowing around a stone. She stopped 3 feet from her brother. "Hello, Kale. I told you I would find you." The Prince of Fire stared at the Princess of Ice, and for the first time in 5 years, his flames began to dim. "Lyra," his voice cracked, "you should not be here. I will kill you. I kill everyone. I cannot control it. Please, please run." "No." She reached out her small frozen hand toward his burning chest. "I am not running anymore, and neither are you." Their fingers touched. The world exploded.
The balance of fire and ice. The explosion was not made of flame or ice. It was made of light. Pure, blinding, impossible light that erupted from the point where Lyra's frozen fingers touched Kale's burning chest. The shockwave hit Marcus like a hammer made of thunder. He flew backward, his body spinning through the superheated air, and crashed into a stone pillar hard enough to crack his ribs. For a moment, everything went white. Then the screaming started. Marcus forced his eyes open. His vision was blurred with pain and smoke, but he could see them. Lyra and Kale, brother and sister, fire and ice. They were destroying each other. Kale's flames had wrapped around Lyra's small body like hungry serpents. Her skin was blistering, cracking, turning from healthy ruby to burned black. She was screaming, but she was not letting go. Her frozen hands gripped her brother's wrists, and where she touched him, his fire was dying. His flames were turning to smoke. His burning skin was hardening into cold, dead ash. They were killing each other, and neither of them would release their grip. "Stop!" Marcus shouted. He tried to stand, but his broken ribs sent lightning bolts of agony through his chest. "You are both going to die!" "I know," Lyra whispered. Her voice was barely audible over the roaring flames. "But at least we will die together. At least he will not be alone anymore." "No!" Kale's burning tears evaporated on his cheeks. "Let go of me. I am not worth your life. I am a monster. I killed Father. I will kill you too." "Then kill me." Lyra looked up at her brother with eyes full of love and sadness. "I would rather burn with you than freeze alone." Marcus watched the 2 children embrace their shared death. He watched the light around them grow brighter, more unstable. He watched the cavern walls begin to crack from the impossible energy being released. And something inside him snapped. Not his bones, not his spirit, his fear. Marcus Cole had spent his entire life running from commitments, running from connections, running from anything that might make him vulnerable. He had told himself it was freedom. He had told himself it was strength, but it was not. It was cowardice. And he was done being a coward. He forced himself to his feet.
Every movement sent waves of agony through his shattered ribs. Blood dripped from a wound on his forehead and blurred his vision. His thermal suit was torn and smoking. None of it mattered. He walked toward the light. "Human, stop!" Kale's voice was desperate now. "You will die! Your flesh will melt from your bones!" Marcus kept walking. "Please," Lyra cried, "you saved me once. Do not throw your life away." Marcus kept walking. The heat was unbearable. His skin was blistering. His lungs were burning with every breath. He could smell his own hair beginning to singe. His body was screaming at him to stop, to turn back, to survive. He did not stop. He reached the children. The light was so bright now that he could barely see. The energy crackling between them was strong enough to disintegrate steel. Marcus did not hesitate. He wrapped his arms around both of them. The world went silent. The fire stopped roaring. The ice stopped cracking. The light froze in place like a photograph of an explosion. And Marcus became something else. He felt it happening. His human body, designed for a narrow range of temperatures, was being pushed far beyond its limits. Kale's fire poured into him from one side. Lyra's cold poured into him from the other. He was the meeting point, the battleground, the bridge. His body temperature began to rise. 99 degrees, 100, 102. The heat from Kale was flowing through him into Lyra. The cold from Lyra was flowing through him into Kale. He was conducting their opposite energies, filtering them, balancing them. 104 degrees, 105. Marcus's vision went red. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it would explode. His blood felt like lava in his veins. Somewhere far away he could hear himself screaming. 107 degrees, 108. This was the temperature where human brains began to cook, where organs began to fail, where death became not a possibility, but a certainty. Marcus did not let go. He thought about Lyra, the small princess who had been freezing to death, who had smiled at him with pure trust, who had called him the warm one. He thought about Kale, the frightened boy who had waited 5 years in darkness, who had become a monster because no one had come to save him, who wanted to die because he couldn't control his gift. "Then kill me." Lyra looked up at her brother with eyes full of love and sadness. "I would rather burn with you than freeze alone." Marcus watched the two children embrace their shared death. He watched the light around them grow brighter, more unstable. He watched the cavern walls begin to crack from the impossible energy being released. And something inside him snapped. Not his bones, not his spirit, his fear. Marcus Cole had spent his entire life running from commitments, running from connections, running from anything that might make him vulnerable. He had told himself it was freedom. He had told himself it was strength, but it was not. It was cowardice. And he was done being a coward. He forced himself to his feet. Every movement sent waves of agony through his shattered ribs. Blood dripped from a wound on his forehead and blurred his vision. His thermal suit was torn and smoking. None of it mattered. He walked toward the light. "Human, stop!" Kale's voice was desperate now. "You will die! Your flesh will melt from your bones!" Marcus kept walking. "Please," Lyra cried, "you saved me once. Do not throw your life away." Marcus kept walking. The heat was unbearable. His skin was blistering. His lungs were burning with every breath. He could smell his own hair beginning to singe. His body was screaming at him to stop, to turn back, to survive. He did not stop. He reached the children. The light was so bright now that he could barely see. The energy crackling between them was strong enough to disintegrate steel. Marcus did not hesitate. He wrapped his arms around both of them. The world went silent. The fire stopped roaring. The ice stopped cracking. The light froze in place like a photograph of an explosion. And Marcus became something else. He felt it happening. His human body, designed for a narrow range of temperatures, was being pushed far beyond its limits. Kale's fire poured into him from one side. Lyra's cold poured into him from the other. He was the meeting point, the battleground, the bridge. His body temperature began to rise. 99 degrees, 100, 102. The heat from Kale was flowing through him into Lyra. The cold from Lyra was flowing through him into Kale. He was conducting their opposite energies, filtering them, balancing them. 104 degrees, 105. Marcus's vision went red. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it would explode. His blood felt like lava in his veins. Somewhere far away he could hear himself screaming. 107 degrees, 108. This was the temperature where human brains began to cook, where organs began to fail, where death became not a possibility, but a certainty. Marcus did not let go. He thought about Lyra, the small princess who had been freezing to death, who had smiled at him with pure trust, who had called him the warm one. He thought about Kale, the frightened boy who had waited 5 years in darkness, who had become a monster because no one had come to save him, who wanted to die because he couldn't control his gift. "Then kill me," Lyra looked up at her brother with eyes full of love and sadness. "I would rather burn with you than freeze alone." Marcus watched the two children embrace their shared death. He watched the light around them grow brighter, more unstable. He watched the cavern walls begin to crack from the impossible energy being released. And something inside him snapped. Not his bones, not his spirit, his fear. Marcus Cole had spent his entire life running from commitments, running from connections, running from anything that might make him vulnerable. He had told himself it was freedom. He had told himself it was strength, but it was not. It was cowardice. And he was done being a coward. He forced himself to his feet. Every movement sent waves of agony through his shattered ribs. Blood dripped from a wound on his forehead and blurred his vision. His thermal suit was torn and smoking. None of it mattered. He walked toward the light. "Human, stop!" Kale's voice was desperate now. "You will die! Your flesh will melt from your bones!" Marcus kept walking. The heat was unbearable. His skin was blistering. His lungs were burning with every breath. He could smell his own hair beginning to singe. His body was screaming at him to stop, to turn back, to survive. He did not stop. He reached the children. The light was so bright now that he could barely see. The energy crackling between them was strong enough to disintegrate